living la vida low carb. This show is changing lives. We talking about your diet, trying to get you feeling right. Cut up them avocados, fry some eggs, time to explore the longest running health podcast, hosted by Jimmy Moore. Time to give up the crappy garbage, we're getting into ketosis. Every day is a new step to your goal, yeah, you're getting closer. Motivated and focused, don't stop, just go. Time to get inspiration from the Living La Vida Low Carb Show. Hey, the livinglowcarbshow.com.
Guys, that right there, Dr. Danielle Eaton. She is a longtime friend of mine. I've known her for many years. She makes it very easy to find her, by the way, on Instagram. Dr. Danielle Eaton. How hard is that, right? See, good branding there. Great job. She is a retired chiropractor, nervous system healer. We're going to get into that in a minute. That sounds real interesting. Coach. And the best part of what she does is she helps people in the health and wellness world that are practitioners to get new clients and build your business. And those of you that are watching or listening, you may have a practice and you're like, yeah, teach me all your secrets, Danielle. So Danielle, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. This is like a blast from the past.
Yes. I'm trying to remember, was it like a paleo meetup? What was the, like, Paleo FX or something? Where did we meet?
No, we have not actually met in person. We met just through Periscope when Periscope was like,
yes. Oh,
and we were essentially the OGs. We were some of the first people that started using that platform and just live streaming and figuring it out.
So those of you that don't know what Periscope is, the precursor to IG Live is what you're watching now, was Periscope. And I was calling them Jimmy Scopes at the time.
Yeah.
And now, it's funny how you just evolve with the technology. So,
yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're a retired chiropractor. Did you just get tired of the day-to-day operation of everything and decided to be more of a help other people become their own entrepreneurial kind of spirit? What led you to chiropractic and then getting out?
Well, what led me to chiropractic was that I wanted to own my own business and help people. And when I was in undergrad, I had studied business administration and social work, and kind of like two opposite ends of the spectrum, I felt like. And so I was looking for something like a next step in my career that made sense. And how could I kind of like combine those two things together? And long story short, I went to chiropractic school. And I went to chiropractic school with the intention of owning my own business, which is not the usual thing. Most people go to chiropractic school because they want to be a chiropractor. They want to be the doctor. They want to be helping take care of people, right? And of course, yes, like that interested me, but what I was really there for was entrepreneurship. So chiropractic was like the gateway for me into entrepreneurship. And I started my own practice. I had my first daughter. She was roughly, I don't know, a year old at the time. And I really thought like, I'll have more time freedom owning my own business and be able to like make my own schedule. And really, I found myself not feeling like that was the reality that we were living in. And it was hard. It was, of course, I knew entrepreneurship, owning a business, running a practice was going to be hard. But what I found to be harder than what I expected was the work-life balance aspect, especially with having a child that was so young at that time. And eventually, I just felt like, this is not what I thought this was going to be like. I'm doing all the things that my mentors told me to do. I'm doing exactly what they told me to do and then some. And all I'm feeling is like tired and run down. And I didn't become a chiropractor. I didn't want to own my own business just so that, I could hustle and work hard 24/7. I wanted to have the time freedom. I wanted to have the ability to work on my own health. And I've had my own struggles with my own health for as long as I can remember. Like literally since I was 3 years old, I've had some kind of health challenge or another, right? So I took some time off. I sold my first practice and I started to explore like what else is out there. I knew that I still wanted to own my own business, but I didn't want to do it the way that I had been doing it. And so I thought at that time I was just leaving chiropractic and like going to go into health coaching or something like that instead. And I started to listen to podcasts and read a lot of books. And there were so many people out there talking, even back then in 2014, about time freedom and location freedom and being able to work from anywhere. And I was like, this is what I want. These are like these things that these people are talking about are what I've been missing. And I started to like look at what I was learning from the podcast and the books and the time management experts and apply it to chiropractic, and started another practice and did it completely differently, and found that I was able to work a lot less, but build a profitable business much more quickly. And working a lot less doing that allowed me to be present with my kids, who were still very little at that time.
Yes.
That was important to me. And you remember them when I was on Periscope running around, I'm sure, like I'm swinging kettlebells and they're pretending to swing kettlebells with me, or they're just running around in the backyard or whatever they're doing. So things kind of evolved from there, and I started teaching other people, specifically women who are chiropractors, how I was doing what I was doing, how I was able to start a practice and in under 90 days be profitable and only work like 15 or 20 hours a week. It sounds too good to be true. Even still now when I say it, I'm like, wow, that's pretty amazing, because it's just so different than how we're taught a successful practice should look, no matter if you're a chiropractor or an acupuncturist or a health coach or whatever it might be.
I think people totally underestimate their abilities to do things bigger than they think they can do. Like, look what I'm doing.
Yes.
I'm on camera doing interviews. I do 4 podcasts a week. I write books, and it's like nobody would have said that's a job. That's a real thing. In fact,
Yeah.
I got mocked by my family because I started podcasting in 2006 when nobody was podcasting. There was like 900 total podcasts in the whole world at the time, and I was one of them. And now, by the way, there's like 1.7 million podcasts. So
Wow.
yeah, everybody thinks they can podcast. Everybody can't podcast. So, and then the book writing thing, it was, you build habits, but you've got to break through those like limiting beliefs. I'm sure a lot of the clients that you have at your sustainable practice business, which I want to go to that the sustainablepracticeprogram.com is her website, by the way. You guys go check her out. You can see a nice little video intro and all the things that she offers there. But I bet the number one hurdle is, but Danielle, I don't feel qualified. I'm not ready yet. I need to get more prepared. I need to have more experience. What do you say to them when they say those nonsensical?
I also don't feel qualified. I
Exactly.
also don't feel prepared. I
Yep.
also don't feel like I know enough.
Yes.
And yet I've grown a very successful multiple 6-figure business over the last what's it been, 5 years, 6 years. And if I had waited until I felt like I knew enough, I'd still be waiting because I never feel done. I never feel like I know enough.
People do that to me all the time. Jimmy, you're so good at your job. But you don't have those beliefs. I'm like, yeah, I do. I don't have letters after my name. And I talk about diet and health, and I talk to medical doctors and
Yeah.
professional researchers all the time. I can
Yeah.
hang with them, by the way, because I'm very educated as a layperson. But like
Yeah.
this is where you build skill set, you build on the job training. People think they need to have all the skills and all the perfection of everything, and then that's when things happen. No, it happens along the way.
Yeah. Well, you've been getting into ice baths a lot recently,
Yeah.
and that is a thing that, like, I'm not there yet. But to the point of what we're talking about with the ice baths, for example, there's never going to be a time that it's any easier for me to get into an ice bath than it is right now. I just have to like get in and do what I can do and then get out and then do it again and then do it again, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like going to the gym and lifting a 10-pound dumbbell, doing a bicep curl and thinking like, that's not very much. That's not very good. I'm not very strong. But if you keep going back to the gym, eventually you're able to do a 20-pound bicep curl and then a 30-pound bicep curl. but you don't get there if you don't just keep showing up. And I think, as you mentioned that there were 600 podcasts when you first started podcasting, I have no idea how many there were when I started in 2015 with my podcast.
Probably about
There were
800,000 about that time.
Yeah, there were already a lot, right? And there are even more now. And despite how many there are now, you don't quit, you keep going.
Oh, yeah, yeah. At this point, okay, market saturated, but I know what I'm doing. Not everybody knows what they're doing. So,
Yeah.
yes. So, and by the way, I love it when you come on your platform of Instagram. I'm sure you're on all the platforms, but on Instagram is where I see all your stuff. And you talk about, and I've even engaged with you in a few of the posts that you've done of, hey, look, why are you coming to me asking me for free advice? Like, if you want to hire me, I am a professional that has knowledge. Pay me for my service. And look, I got all kind of nutritionist friends in this space and even medical friends that they get that kind of stuff all the time. And then people, well, I thought you cared about people. You give the information. Even me writing all kinds of books, like I've written a million books about all kinds of subjects. And when they ask me a question, I'll give them a brief answer. Oh, I need a whole dissertation of the whole answer. I'm like, go get my book. That's why I
Yeah.
wrote the book. And then
Yeah.
they're like, well, you're just a cheapskate trying to make money. I'm like, yeah, I got light bills to pay. I got stuff to do too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really interesting challenge for health and wellness practitioners of all kinds, because we generally lead with our heart and we care about people and we want to help people. And yet, we make that mean that like getting paid for what we do is a bad thing somehow. But when you help a lot of people, money is just a resource for you to be able to help more people. And
Yeah.
it's easy to get distracted by the people who are like, give me the help for free. And then to think like we need to help those people who are asking for the help for free. And then in the long term, we get tired, we get burned out because we've been giving so much to so many people without getting an equal an equal exchange essentially of energy. Money is just energy. So I
They've,
see that happen a lot, a lot.
they've done studies actually, Danielle, where people who pay for a service are more apt to be more enthusiastic about it and actually
Yes.
do it than to not. And it's the whole get what you pay for. If you think it's free, then it's worth nothing to you mentally. But if you have to invest a little bit of dollars and other kind of effort to do it, you're more apt to be more enthusiastic about following through and actually being accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. And in this context, you're trying to get healthy. What's more valuable than your health?
Nothing.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I get 32-degree ice baths. Yes, yes. So help the brand new person. Maybe somebody is watching or listening to this right now. They're just getting into trying to break through into their own health and wellness practice. They're
Yes.
they got all the right everything. They're in the right mindset. What's the first step for them?
So, first of all, what I would want you to know is that there are going to be a lot of naysayers. There are going to be a lot of people who will say, you should just get a regular job. You don't know what you're doing. What you're doing is crazy or it doesn't make sense. Why can't
Yes.
you just be normal? And truthfully, you're probably not designed to be normal. Whatever normal is now, in my opinion, I don't want to be normal. Like, why,
Oh,
literally, why be normal when normal is so often unhealthy, right?
yeah.
And it's the unnormal people that make big changes in the world. So yeah, you're not going to be normal and that's fine. And
Yeah.
you'll just have to learn to embrace it and not listen to the people that tell you otherwise.
Yes.
In regard to really getting a business started, I struggled with this in the beginning when I was starting a coaching business. I didn't know what I wanted it to look like or who I was going to help. And I was trying to help so many different types of people with so many different types of things. And I still see this today, 7 years later, with especially coaches, health coaches, wellness coaches, whatever. that we're trying to help so many people and be super broad because we feel like we just need to get clients. And so to specialize in something feels dumb in a way, right? We feel afraid that we're going to turn people away. Unfortunately, when we resist getting really, really clear on a singular problem that we can help people with and really getting good at solving that problem, we struggle to start a business because nobody really gets it when you're like super broad about what you can help with. I help people live a better life. But if you can say, I help women who are in their 40s lose 10 pounds
Yes.
in 90 days, it's way different, right? Way different.
Messaging is everything when you're trying to brand yourself. Like when I created Livin' La Vida Low Carb, there was no doubting what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Now, I use that brand and my name has become a brand. And so now I can talk about anything. But when I first started, my niche was that very kind of narrow, yet I could broaden it a little bit, topic of low carb diets. I've since kind of like branched out to everything else because now Jimmy Moore is a brand now. But when I first started, that was the toughest part. And then, like, when you go outside of that, people go, oh, stay in your lane. You're supposed to be low carb. And I'm like, no, I can do whatever I want now once you establish your brand.
Yes. Yes. And you probably see people do it the opposite, right? They try to like make a big brand, like a very wide reaching brand. Maybe their name is the brand, but nobody knows your name.
No,
And so it doesn't really have significance to people.
no.
And they're not sure, like, why would they pay you to do what you do when they don't know what the end result is?
Yes.
The tricky part, I would say, in the beginning, when you're just getting started as a coach, for example, is that you may not have client success stories yet. You may not have evidence yourself that what you claim to do is going to actually happen for people. You've got to just put tremendous faith in yourself, first and foremost, in whatever your higher power is. If you have a spiritual perspective to your path, your drive to help people, then trust that you are going to see those results happen for the people that you're serving. And if you resist getting clear and focused on who you're meant to help and how you're meant to help them and what the intended outcome is, you're going to struggle to help anybody for a very long time. So the sooner that you can decide, like, this is the thing I want to help people with, regardless of if you have testimonials or you have experience doing it, the sooner you'll actually have the experience doing it.
Yes, exactly. You know what I hate the most about the health and wellness space? This is a little pet peeve of Jim. I'm going to talk with Danielle about it. Is this notion that you have to be perfect looking or you're, I guess, invalidated in whatever you say. And
Yeah.
look, extra weight on my body. I don't hide. I'm on camera every day and I get a lot of heat for that. Well, you should be more perfect if you're eating a healthy diet and da da da. Never mind that there's lots of like moving parts to this topic.
Yep.
So what do you think about that whole notion? And people put this pressure on themselves. And I remember some of the conferences I would go to, like in the paleo world, there was just all this, well, I am this and I am that, and look how I look. And it's like it was so vanity driven that you forget the messenger is not what you're looking at. It's the message, and if the message is sound, the messenger, yeah, you'd kind of like them to be what, but it's not the world. They're not. In fact, I would rather, as a non-practitioner, I would rather go to somebody that kind of looks like me that can help me with some of the issues if I see that they're working on themselves in that way.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be people who have the expectation that health and wellness practitioners should look a certain way. And there are also a lot of people like you and I who don't look that certain way. And yet we still can help a lot of people, right?
Yes.
With what you know. And in my opinion, there's no one better to learn from than someone who's struggled with the same thing that you've struggled with. And there's so much that goes into our experiences. So you might, I know you've done some really long extended fasts in the past. You might do a very long extended fast and have great results. You might see your labs change in really positive ways. You might lose a certain number of pounds. But then what happens after that fast? Maybe you get COVID and you're exhausted and you're just trying to survive. Maybe you lose your job. Maybe you get divorced. All kinds of things happen. And we also have to account for like our real life experiences as humans on this
A
planet.
lot of people ask me, Jimmy, how do you get such good deep sleep? Well, there's a lot of things that I do, but one of the newest things that I recently added is this upgraded magnesium from a company called Upgraded Formulas. Go to their website, upgradedformulas.com, and you can learn all about this nano technology that they use for this particular mineral of magnesium. Again, it's called Upgraded Magnesium, and it's got all the different forms of magnesium in it using the nanotechnology so it gets absorbed a lot better. Guys, I have seen my deep sleep improve by as much as 30 to 40% simply by adding in this product along with sunshine exposure, darkness in the room, cooler temperature, all of the things that I always have done. So again, upgradedformulas.com is the website. Go check them out.
There's always going to be people who have the expectation that health and wellness practitioners should look a certain way. And there are always going to be other people who need someone that's relatable to them, right?
Yes.
Like what size or shape you are, what color you are, what age you are. We need to have people that we feel safe with to help guide us through our own experiences, as well as trusting that someone has gone through the same kind of experience or similar experience that we are going through ourselves. And I think I didn't mention this before, but one of the things that we can get stuck in is this thought process of like, there's like big names in the health and wellness industry, and maybe we think we should look like them or be like them as practitioners, but it's often easier to help someone who's just a couple steps behind you in their journey from where you are right now.
Yes.
Literally reach your hand back and like show them the way, right?
Yeah.
But if someone is like on this platform, this mountaintop, just shouting down at you, this is the way to go. This is how. It's not as relatable. Like they may not be able to hear you. They may not be able to understand what you're saying. They just may not connect with you. So we need people all across the spectrum. Yes, like great. There are some people that look a certain way, have the right size body, the right shape body, and they're great examples for some people that need that kind of example. And we also need the diversity in health and wellness practitioners of all kinds so that more people see what's possible for themselves and understand that everyone's just on their own journey.
Yes. And look, I get a lot of nasty stuff in the comments and in the DMs. I know you do too, for a variety of reasons. And I feel like there's kind of this disconnect of people understanding that kind of pressure that happens all the time. I used to let it get to me hard, Danielle, but then after a while, I was like, I really don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And then with the events of the last 2 years, and you start talking about a little bit of that stuff, and people really come after you. And so it's like, you try to like say, you know what, I'm going to stay true to who I am. I don't have to be Paul Saladino to reach an audience. He's great. I love the work that he does. Literally everything is bullshit according to him. And then other influencers like you follow to get inspiration, but I don't really relate to them near as much as I do someone else who speaks more vulnerably, more openly about their struggles. This is where people make mistakes in building a health and wellness practices. They think they have to like, oh, look at my perfect plate of food. Oh, look how perfect I exercise in the gym. And it's like, people look at that, yes, inspired, but not relatable. So I love what we're saying here.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also so many factors that go on behind the scenes that you don't see on Instagram or on Facebook or wherever else, right? You don't hear it in a podcast or on a YouTube channel. There's the ancestral trauma, the generational trauma that we bring in our DNA into the bodies that we live in now. And those things are not measurable. Those things are unseen, but they affect our results now. There's also just, our childhood trauma, our emotions, our emotional baggage, if you want to call it that, that affects our results. And so, I know you've done some really long extended fasts. You might do a fast and have great results and see your labs change in really positive ways and lose 50 pounds or whatever it is. And then at the end of that fast, we go on lockdown, you lose your job, and you get divorced. And you're suddenly dealing with a whole new set of circumstances that were different from when you did that fast and you got great results. And now you've got to learn how to accommodate, essentially, how to adapt your healthy habits into this new world, this new environment that you're living in. There's always changes. I don't think we're meant to find a place where we arrive and we stay there for the rest of our lives. I arrived when I was 22 and I've been perfect ever since. Life doesn't happen that way.
And yet people always are searching for that pie in the sky kind of answer, and you're just setting yourself up for failure if you do that. And I can tell you, I've been dealing with a lot of my own kind of childhood trauma. I'm 50 years old now, and it wasn't until 47 that I actually really started face-to-face trying to deal with this thing that happened to me decades ago. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm on the other side of that, I'm like, holy crap, how many years did I hold on to all that stuff?
Yeah.
And the reason I have insulin resistance? Is it the reason that I have weight on the body? And people often will chide me for that. And I'm like, look, I'm supposed to be statistically dead right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm not out. No, I'm not dead. I'm alive and I'm able to help people and all the things that you do. And it's that's a part of health that is devalued. And I hope that we're starting to see trauma and mindset and other kind of external factors of stress, especially the last 2 years, talked about mental health is health. Yeah. As part of a whole health and wellness kind of practice. And that's going to help you build, because there's a lot of people right now, Danielle, right, that have gone through the most traumatic experience of their lives the last 2 years, and they're looking for help from a practitioner. And this is a perfect opportunity for channeling that and saying, hey, I can help you, not just with your physical issues of weight and maybe diabetes and other things that you're dealing with, but also some of the mental side of things.
For sure, yes. It's been a long time coming, right, that we have gotten to a place where we can acknowledge the unseen aspects of our health, our mental, our emotional, our spiritual, our energetic health. And it's unfortunate that the circumstances over the last 2 years are a huge part of what got so many people to pay attention to our mental and emotional well-being. And at the same time, there's positive aspects of it too. It's a delicate balance, right? Because there's been so much that's happened over the last 2 years that was incredibly wrong.
Yeah.
Incredibly wrong. And we continue to see more and more reports about how wrong it was. And yet there were positives that came from it. More people than ever in my lifetime, and probably also in yours, are looking for alternative options for their health and their well-being. They're more aware that their health is their responsibility. No one else is taking care of that for them, and looking for support and looking for options. So for people that have been listening to your podcast or following you on Instagram that are thinking about starting some kind of health or wellness business of their own, now is an amazing time. And despite what's happening in the economy, it's still an amazing time, because while people are worried about gas prices and oil prices, their stress level increases, and then they have more health issues and they need more support with those health issues. So don't get discouraged if you're thinking man, I really want to start my own business, but the economy, I don't know. Well, actually, if you want to believe that the economy is going to hold you back, then it will. But if you want to get started now and you just want to help people, then go. People need the help.
What's funny about, not funny, that's a bad word, but what's interesting about the mental health crisis that has kind of revealed itself the last 2 years, and some of the ways that we were lied to very blatantly about various things, which we won't talk about because I will get banned off of social media if I say what I really think. But it's not new. Like, I've been in the health space long enough, Danielle. They've been lying to us about cholesterol and about
Yeah.
low fat diets and about meat. And I could go down the list of all the things they've lied to us about and told us there's a pharmaceutical answer to things. And it's like, the last 2 years have not really been a surprise to me because it's just par for the course of what I've seen my whole career.
Yeah. I think for the most part, having been a chiropractor since 2008 and being aware of the same kind of things that you're talking about with low carb, keto diets, intermittent fasting, cold plunges, all of those things, it's almost as if it was easier for me to see very early on there's something not right about what's going on here. And I already knew how much corruption there was in certain industries. So, yeah, very early on, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if this is really what we're being told that it is.
Well, and think about all the people, even in the health and wellness space, that kind of bought into it. Look, when this first kind of all went down, I'm like, okay, first couple of weeks, let's ride this. Let's do all the things. But then it became quickly apparent this was not going away in a couple of weeks. And so a lot of us very early on, like I'm talking April, May of 2020, we were like, whoa, what the, like, give us some more evidence. And then it kept getting weirder and weirder and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And you start speaking out about it. Oh my gosh, you can't stay in your lane. I'm just like, this is lane. This is health. This has to be talked about.
Yes, I'm totally with you. I mean, there have been many points over the last 2 years where I'm like, I should just not talk about these political things because is it really going to contribute to someone's life in a positive way, or is it cause more division?
Let me push back. Let me push back because a lot of people said that. They were like, oh, stop being so political. I didn't see it as political. I know it was politicized. Literally everything in this society now is politicized. But for me, it was all about health. It was all my lane of health of what I've talked about for almost 2 decades. And so when they were like, oh, don't talk politics, I'm like, I'm not even interested in that aspect of it. I'm interested in how does this impact our health directly? And like, to me, if you're in the health space and you're talking about health things, okay, maybe they're politicizing, but I keep it focused on health. We should be able to talk about those things within that context.
Well, the truth is, everything is political. Our is political. The food industry is political. Farming is also political. Health, medicine is political. Education is political. So there's no avoiding it. And I used to just really bury my head in the sand and not pay attention to the right, left, this party, that party dynamics, and was really actually uninformed about a lot of things. And the last 2 years really brought a lot to my awareness that I was not aware of before. And yeah, I've done this dance too of like, do I want to talk about these things, or do I want to just keep those subjects to myself and talk with my husband about them at home? But I know that there are a lot of other people out there who want to be speaking up and who want to be able to express themselves freely. And I feel like, how could I advocate for someone to be able to do that in any way if I'm not doing that myself? And so sometimes that means that I say things that you might not agree with.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, okay.
I lost at least 2,500 to 3,000 followers talking about some of that stuff 2 years ago. A lot of them have come back when they realize, oops, yeah, wow, you were kind of right about those things. I love DeMarco says everything sponsored by PFIZER. I'm not giving them their word, but that's funny, DeMarco. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's sad. It's true. And, we're finding out that even news media coverage is now paid for by that. And the so-called fact checkers telling us what we're allowed to say on social media, paid for by those same companies. And so now everybody's like, oh, and we're just like, we've tried to tell you all along. But anyway,
Like,
so
like with health and wellness, everyone's on their own journey. Everyone's going to come to whatever realization they're going to come to, or come to peace with whatever they're going to come to peace with in their own timing. And so whether you're struggling with changing your diet, or you're insulin resistant and you know that you need to make some changes, and like you get on the bandwagon and you fall off the bandwagon, or whatever it is, right? We're all on our own journey. And I think we lose sight of that very quickly and easily when we're just squabbling about what's in front of us right now. We forget that we came here for bigger reasons. We came here to learn our own lessons, and they're going to look different. Everyone's life journey is going to be different. And so mine's different than yours, and yours is different than others. It's just like, let people live and let people learn their lessons.
did you go keto and thought you had to give up wine? Well, let me introduce you to Dry Farm Wines. It is the world's first sugar-free alcohol that is lower than your typical wines, organic, made at local farms that do it the right way. Most of the wines that you buy are from 3 really big companies, loaded with additives and preservatives, so many dozens of those kinds of things. You don't want all that junk in your wine. So go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and they will ship you these wines. And just because you listen to this podcast, Dry Farm Wines is going to give you a bottle in your first order for just 1 cent. Go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and you will get your bottle of wine for just 1 singular penny. Go check them out. Dry Farm Wines, you guys. It's wine o'clock somewhere. Let's go get some wine. So I want to get back to some of the strategies for building the health and wellness business. And one of the coolest ones that 2022 has been the year of is on Instagram. There are these things called reels. And so you become quite the real queen. REEL queen. You're a real queen too, but she does guys. And if you're not as someone who is in the health and wellness space trying to build kind of your business and everything, if you're not taking advantage of this, reels actually show up on the front page of a lot more people than just your followers. I started kind of getting on the reel bandwagon. I do at least like 3 or 4 reels a day now, Danielle, and I have seen such engagement go up, and I'm not even trying to sell anything. I'm just selling me. Go listen to my podcast, go read my posts. But here you are showing, hey, this is how you build your business, and you're using reels. Do you like the reels and TikTok and some of these other new technologies?
I am not on TikTok. And Jimmy, this is a funny conversation, I think, because where we started was talking about Periscope, right? In 2015, when that app first became available for us, I was looking at Periscope thinking, this is going to change everything. Like, this changes our future, the ability to live stream. It wasn't a thing before then.
No.
Not as readily, there may have been options, but it wasn't free. And it wasn't as readily available until Periscope made this technology available right there in the palm of our hands and our cell phones. And so
YouTube Live had not even come on yet, so you're right.
Right. And so I very quickly saw that this was a game changer, this ability to communicate with people this way. And at that time, I wasn't at all worried about artificial intelligence. I just thought, like, wow, this is really cool, and I'm gonna try this out and see what happens. And so I embraced the availability of that technology then, and I'm thankful that I did, because it led to where we are right now. However, there have been times over the last few years where I'm like, oh no, I'm real? No, not doing that. I'm far too old.
I saw all these people like wiggling their booty and pointing. I'm like, I ain't doing all that. I'm sorry. If I want to wiggle my booty, fine. If I want to point, fine. But that's not me. And I have a friend in my life, and she's like, Jimmy, do I really have to do reels? I'm like, well, they're the only thing really getting attention on Instagram now. Try it. And she tried a few, and she got into her own little niche, and now she has it. You don't have to do what everybody else does. And even some of yours are very unique to Danielle. Like, I don't see people doing just straight camera and having the words on the screen. I don't see many people just doing that. So find your niche, and yes, you can use it to your advantage.
Right. So I finally got a kick in the pants from a friend of mine who's an Instagram expert, and she said, well, the reason that you're not growing on Instagram is because you're not doing reels. And I was like, really?
Yep.
Okay, I'll try it and see what happens. And she reminded me that you can't just, try it for a day or even for a week. You've got to be consistent and consistent over the long term. But yeah, doing reels has definitely helped me grow my account because I didn't start doing anything on Instagram until just a little over a year ago. I would sometimes post something here or there, but I grew my business all through Facebook and just ignored Instagram, really.
Yeah. I did the same thing with Instagram, and this was circa 10 years ago, but I got off of it or never got on it because I was like, they put recipes on there. I'm a podcaster. What do I need to do on there? But then somebody's like, you could put your podcast on there. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I got on and I was like, wow, I love it. And then they started adding the lives and now they got the reels. So I think going with the technology, and this is a part of building your business as well, a health and wellness business is, and I'm looking through all your reels to see which one's got the most views. Here's a 7,900 one. Oh, is that? Yeah. Yeah, you got the little head movement. Those always get, if you can find one of the popular songs and sounds, you can actually get up there pretty high in the views. And oh, there's a 9,000 one. Never sacrifice what matters most for what matters least. And there's
Yeah.
probably nice music behind it. I'm not turning up the volume, but you get the idea. And I feel like people leave a lot of potential on the table for what's it take you? 20 seconds to do a reel? Like it's not really hard. And then if you write a caption, yeah, it's a few minutes to write a nice caption. And I pride myself in captions, but it's so easy. If you're not utilizing that, you're kind of leaving clients on the table.
Well, I don't necessarily feel like it's that easy, or I feel like it takes me a lot of time to create reels, but it's
Okay.
awesome. I'm like being a perfectionist about getting it
Ah,
right, the video editing and all the stuff,
yeah,
right? But here's the thing, if you are, let's say you're leaving a job in a hospital, and you're starting your own health and wellness business, and your budget is tight, and you're looking for ways to get in front of people and get new clients, well, this is free.
yeah,
And so this is a technology that you can utilize to reach a lot of people, and it doesn't cost you anything.
yes.
You
And getting on people. I'm sorry, what was the last thing you said?
have to weigh the pros and cons.
Yeah, exactly. And getting on people's lives like you're doing today and podcasts, that's a way to get your name out. I've been the very first podcast that so many people have been on that then end up becoming something in the space. And so it always gratifies me when I see, they get their start here and then somebody sees them on my show and then they go on someone else's show. Hey, I saw you on Jimmy Moore's show and da da da. And so that's something else that's free. It just takes your time.
Yeah.
Invest 45 minutes to an hour, and then you get all this exposure. There's also Clubhouse that's now out there. Have you dabbled in Clubhouse at all?
I have. It's actually pretty fun. Yeah.
It's a little addictive. And now that they have where you can save the audio, it's a lot more worth it. When I used to get on there at the very beginning, there was no save audio option. And so all that content that might have been great, poof, gone, except
Yeah.
for the viewers. So at least now they've improved it that way. And keeping your ear to the ground with all the technologies, which you were talking about Periscope, but just constantly looking at all the different ones and assessing which ones fit you and your personality. Look, I can talk and I can talk on camera. So this is very comfortable for me as it is for you. And don't feel like you've got to mimic what Danielle does in her business, because this is what Danielle does and she's good at it. Find what you're good at. And if you're not good at something, practice in front of the mirror and say, hey
Yeah.
guys, you're on, and talk to the mirror as if you're talking on camera, or even pull out your phone and start talking to it and having a just record, and then watch yourself back, and don't be critical and don't be a perfectionist like Danielle is, because you will get good at it.
Well, that's, I think, an important thing for me to share because, yes, I can sit here now and talk to you through Instagram and we're live and there are people watching and this is going to be on a podcast later that has thousands and thousands of downloads and I'm not nervous. But I have not always been not nervous. There
Yeah.
have been many many times. And in fact, in the past, in my undergraduate degree, I had an assignment to give a speech to my class for my final exam. For one of my classes, I had to have like a certain grade in, a C or above, to graduate with my degree. And I go for the final because I was like too nervous to actually give a speech to the class. And people, when they hear that story, they're like, really? I'm like, yeah. No, I haven't always been comfortable talking on camera or talking, to a large group of people or presenting or whatever. I had to develop the skill set. And the way that I started to do that was that I had a mentor who literally just like tossed me, like threw me into the fire and just was like, go. And I had to sink or swim. And I chose to swim because I didn't want to die. So I had to learn. And I did. So I'm much more comfortable now. I don't feel like I'm a very polished speaker. There are things that I still feel like I could work on or improve. And also I embrace just being my real self where I am at the moment.
Yeah.
When I look back or listen back to podcast episodes from 6 years ago, I can hear I'm much more certain in myself. I'm much more comfortable. The sound, the tone of my voice is different now than it was then. I'm not trying so hard to like, make anyone think a certain thing or feel a certain way about me. I'm just here.
I can so relate. I used to be very formal at the beginning of my podcast to be like, welcome back to the Living La Vida Low Carb Show with Jimmy Moore. And today we have Danielle Eaton. And it was so formal. Now I'm like, guys, that right there, I'm so more relaxed and it's so much more fun for me. A lot happened in my life that kind of like got me to this point. And it's that comfortability. By the way, wonderful on camera. Wonderful. You come across as very warm. I'm talking about you, very warm, very knowledgeable. You look and sound like a real person. There's nothing worse than someone that sounds like they have polished answers. You don't, but I love it. And if you flub up your words, it's charming. Like, I'm not saying that you have, but people that flub up their words, they get a big deal. Oh my gosh, I messed up. And I'm like, no, you're real. I make a joke about it when I flub up, and I've done this for 17 years. And so,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. I've also had a lot of practice at doing live videos with my kids or in the room with me and just like causing chaos and never knowing what's happening. And those are actually some of my proudest moments where I have looked back at videos where like one of my children, this is a classic one, she comes up behind me as I'm talking on a live video on Facebook, and she puts this little toy on my head and then she dances it around on my head. And I just keep going. I don't miss a beat. And I kind of laugh and point at it, and I just keep talking, and the words just keep rolling. And I was like, that was actually really good. That was like, wow, that was a moment that I was just like, yeah, that was amazing. Like, you go, Mom.
Look, I interviewed Sarah Fragoso from the paleo community many years ago now. And same thing, her little boy runs in right in the middle of our podcast, and he goes, Mom. So Sarah was so mortified. I'm like, no, that is podcast gold. We're going to keep that. So. But guys, go check out Danielle. Again, Dr. Danielle Eaton over on Instagram is her username. For those of you listening, that's DRDANIELLEEATON. She does have a link tree once you're there where you can sign up for the sustainable practice and gives you some tips about how to make more money with your practice, get marketing ideas that's cheap and easy and cheesy and not salesy or cheesy or pushy, sorry. You also have a podcast we didn't really talk about, but go listen to the Business of Being Well podcast. I really like the title of that. And of course, you got a Facebook group as well where people can team up with you. But Danielle, long time coming, my friend. I'm really glad we got you here on the show today.
Thank you so much. And Jimmy, I just want to say thank you for your tenacity and your persistence and for being an example of what it looks like to be consistent, because so many people struggle with consistency, whether it's in their health habits or in their business or, in the influencer space. They look for instant results and they don't get them and they get discouraged. But no matter what happens, you just keep showing up and you keep going. And it's an amazing example. There are not many people that have the skill set or the willingness to do what you do.
Thank you. I've been told I'm like a fire hose, and they're just trying to get a little bit of it at a time. I do love to make content, but thank you for that. That's very sweet. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Time to get inspiration from the Living La Vida Low Carb Show. Hey, the livinglowcarbshow.com. Woo!
Have you experienced the dreaded keto flu? Did you know that most of these symptoms are actually due to your body dumping excess electrolytes? This is where Element comes in. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing you don't. That means lots of salt with no sugar. Element is formulated to help anyone with their electrolyte needs and is perfectly suited to folks following a keto, low carb, or paleo diet. Element contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, with none of the junk, no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, no BS. Everyone needs electrolytes, especially those on low-carb diets, or if you practice intermittent or extended fasting, if you're physically active, or sweat a lot. Add Element today and see how much better you feel and perform. Use the URL drinklmnt.com/Jimmy.
Tired of playing the mask game? Me too. That's why I wanted to tell you about the Unmask. This is a breathable, completely breathable. It covers, you can't even see that it's breathable, but it's breathable. Whether you're going on a plane, having to go into a store and wearing this thing, playthemaskgame.com is how you can get this mask. They come in all kinds of colors and everything. In fact, right there, you can see right through it what it is, but when you're wearing it, it does not look like it's anything different, but it's breathable, baby. Playthemaskgame.com.